Welcome to this week's episode of Eye of the Swarm, your deep dive into anything and everything related to Yellowjacket athletics. He's the big sound Matt Johnson. I am Jon Garver, season number 6, episode number 13, and been a while.
Yeah.
Been a while, but I always remind people this is what happens in the spring because schedules get changed and
there was
things just start to happen after that spring break time.
When we were, because we try asterisk, big asterisk, we try to go every other week with our podcast. That's our goal. We fall well short of that during the spring because things get messed up.
Yep.
This time, the last time we were scheduled, we would have been normally scheduled to do one. I think we had spring break, and then we had another one where I was actually...
The last time we were going to do one,
baseball
got moved.
Yeah. And then
before that was spring break.
Yep. So we had a couple of things that stepped in and prevented us from doing another podcast. But here we are, and it's crazy. We're more than halfway through now the spring season.
We're 5 weeks from graduation, man.
Yeah. There's still a lot of action that needs to take place, obviously, between now and then. But right now all the teams look pretty good. Mm-hmm. There really isn't a hole right now in the spring season in terms of the teams, how the teams are performing. Everybody's performing pretty well. So,
we kind of had that in every season too. Yeah. You've had you had a stretch in the fall where everybody was rolling.
Yep.
You had that stretch in late November, early December when all the winter sports teams were rolling.
Yep.
Every one of them was on like a win streak of 5 games or more at that time.
Right, yeah.
So we've had a really good, consistent year that way where teams have really performed.
I think it's been that way for the last couple of years. We've had really consistent performances basically throughout, where conference titles have been won each of the 3 athletic seasons. And hopefully we'll continue this year. Baseball right now is tied for first place. They're 6-0 in the league, 11-9 overall. Very solid up and down. This is the most complete team he's had, in my opinion. Good speed throughout the lineup. There's power hitters in the middle of the lineup. The pitching is good. The defense has been solid. There's depth there. He can rotate players in and out a little bit. So, they're looking good.
The thing I love about them, too, and I say this to him at least 2 or 3 times a year, how much I appreciate the fact that his pitchers throw strikes.
Yep.
And his team picks up the ball.
Yeah.
They don't make errors.
No.
And it stuck in my mind when he interviewed for the job. He came in and said, we are bottom 10 in the country in Division III in walks. And they were like bottom 25 in team defense.
Yeah.
They led the country in hit batsmen. So you're, between walks and hit batsmen and errors, you're giving a lot of free bases away.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
And I really appreciate their commitment to the fundamental piece of things and the way that they pick up the ball. But those pitchers they throw strikes.
Yeah, well,
they get the ball over.
They attack. Whether they're hitting or they're in the field, they attack. The pitchers attack, the batters attack, and they play a pretty. And it sounds funny to say this, they play a high-tempo style of baseball. There's a lot of movement going on all the time. There's a lot of aggressiveness all the time. And TJ will tell you that they do that on purpose. Mm-hmm. That's their goal. That's how they're going to play. And it's worked out well for them. Mm-hmm. So they've got a big series this weekend coming up against Crown. 6-0 after sweeps of Northland and Martin Luther. Martin Luther's a lot better.
That's a much improved team.
Yeah, they're a lot better.
They were very impressive.
I think, in the league. And their coach down there, Randy Cox, has done a good job of getting them to be a lot better than they were even a year ago. They do the little things, they execute well, and that's a real hallmark of what TJ wants them to be. Mm-hmm. So they're doing things the right way right now.
Yep.
Softball, this is the best offensive team she's had.
Rolling.
They're just rolling right along. When you have a team batting average of .412. Holy smokes! She's got 2 or 3 players that are hitting over 500 right now.
Yeah,
on that team
because they rolled in Florida.
Oh yeah, they did absolutely.
They mowed over teams.
They mowed over everybody. They've been run ruling a lot of people lately. They've played 18 games. They're supposed to play 3 against Crown again on the road this weekend. But they're rolling right along right now. They're more than halfway through their schedule, and they've been hitting the ball like crazy.
But they're like the baseball team, though. They've got depth. They've got pitching.
Yeah,
They
power.
they defend well,
Yeah.
and they really hit.
Yeah, and they really hit. I mean, they're really 1 through 9. She does not have a bad hitter in that lineup. I mean, every single one of them is dangerous, and that's what she wanted going into it, and that's what she has. The pitching is not like lights out, but it's good enough, especially with the offense that they have.
And she's got depth there too.
Yeah,
and
there's
that's
5 pitchers on the roster. She's wanted. One of the star freshmen that came in has been injured, so she hasn't really pitched as much. But Bella Garley and Sam Swartz have kind of held down the fort.
Yep.
Both of them have a significant amount of college experience, so they're not really losing anything there. And then, like I said, the lineup is just stacked.
Yeah.
They've scored a ton of runs. They're averaging like 9 or 10 runs a game right now. Pretty close to that. They're like 8 or 9, I think, runs per game.
And your leadoff hitter, Larissa, hasn't played yet.
Yeah, and they're not full strength. Larissa Snyder still has been out with an injury, but it really hasn't mattered much. Mackenzie Lesher came in late. She's an all-conference player from last year because she was with the basketball team for the NCAA tournament, of course. But they really have not skipped a beat. And the freshmen that have come in have really they've answered the bell in a big way too.
Yep.
So Peyton Bennett is having an unbelievable freshman year. I can't remember the last time I've seen a freshman come in and hit 500 in her rookie year. And Bailey O'Donnell has hit the ball like a champ as well. So
Yep.
they're rolling right along. They haven't played in a while, but
Yeah, they because they were supposed to play Northland in that week.
Yep.
And
they had a non-conference series with Eau Claire that was postponed. I don't know if
Yep.
those games are going to get made up or not, but that was supposed to be on Tuesday this week, and it ended up being postponed because of the blizzard that we had.
Yep.
So we'll see those games get made up, but yeah, they're rolling right along. They got a series this weekend against Crown, and then it's sort of a sprint to the finish for them. They're going to have a bunch of home games all stacked together here coming up in the next.
Yeah, because it's like the opposite of the baseball schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're going to have a bunch of home games in a row, and
Yep.
For them, I mean, they're going to get the heavyweights all at home.
Yep. Well, I mean, they were the preseason favorite going in, so whereas baseball was
Much to Coach Fracker's chagrin.
Well, it was her response was kind of funny when we talked about it because she was it's about time, but also I don't like it.
Yeah.
So there was sort of a mixed reaction she had to that.
Right.
But I've not seen them play this well and beat this many teams this decisively in quite a long time. And they've got some really good wins in there as well.
Right.
Loris is a good team. They beat them. They beat McAllister, who's also doing very well in the MIAC. So, and the games that they've lost have been to really good teams. They have not lost a game to a bad team
Right.
this year. So, at 15-4, you take that and then you move on. And it's crazy to think that she scheduled 40 games and they're at right about the halfway point now.
Right.
So we'll see if we get all those in. But yeah, they're rolling right along. Women's tennis,
Rolling right along.
Rolling right along. Thumped Concordia Moorhead in their last outing. The men lost 4-3 that same day. But they're looking solid. The men have got a match this weekend against Grinnell. I think it's on Sunday.
Sunday, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, and it's at a neutral site down in Winona, kind of meeting the teams halfway, I guess would be, instead of having to go all the way down to Iowa to play them. But the women now are 12-5. The men are 4-12, but the men have played a really brutal schedule.
That has been a rugged non-conference schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. And
he doesn't hide from anybody.
No. And on the track and field side, they just participate in something called the Optimistic, which I think is optimistic. It was well named. I'm glad St. John's named that meet the Optimistic.
Right.
I guess everybody's excited then. But they're at Hamlin, I think, tomorrow. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Tomorrow being Saturday.
Yeah, all the teams, are have got things coming up. The only team that is off this weekend is women's tennis, because they play Crown a week from Saturday, so a week from tomorrow.
And we even have golf this weekend.
We do. Where are they?
The golf teams are playing in the UMAC put together. Remember that in the fall they had the UMAC preview. They're almost having something similar to that,
like a post view, postseason
a review.
Yeah, review.
Yeah, they put together almost like a preview for the spring.
Okay.
To get them all together, so they play tomorrow as well. So both golf teams in action as well.
Is that would be at Pebble Creek again?
Oh no!
Oh, okay.
For the life of me, I can't think of it.
It's not down in Becker.
I'm getting hand signals from over
there.
there.
Yeah, Holden is trying to tell us something.
Oh, that's next weekend. Never mind.
Oh, it's next weekend. Okay.
But we won't have a pod before then, so golf will be in action.
Golf will be in action then, and so will women's tennis.
Yeah. It all runs together after a while.
It does. There's just a lot of things moving around, but all the teams are doing really well. Baseball's doing well. They're hitting 300 as a team. I think it's the first time they've done that under TJ. So, I'm impressed because across the board, like I said, all the teams are looking good for pushing for potential conference crowns. So far, so good, and hopefully it continues for the rest of the spring.
With that, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to talk about baseball, as we will have head coach TJ Oakes and senior Cole Ondrus join us for the roundtable segment. That'll be coming right after this break. This is Eye of the Swarm.
Find your passion. Find your people. Find your purpose. Find your superior.
We're back for the roundtable segment of this edition of Eye of the Swarm, and it's time for us to talk a little baseball here as head coach TJ Oakes and Cole Ondrus from the Yellowjacket baseball team are joining us. And we picked, I think, a pretty good time here, Matt, to have them be our guests. Right before you came back, you 6-game winning streak. Things are going pretty well, and I guess the flip side of that is you never know when you're going to play again. And I hate to make light of it and laugh about it, but that kind of is the nature of the spring sports in this part of the country. You're at the mercy of Mother Nature, and you kind of have to be ready we've got I've got a 2.5 hour window right here on Wednesday. Let's get a game in.
Well, it's sort of ironic because we had actually a pretty light winter in terms of snow, in fact, a really light winter. And now we've had back-to-back winter storms in about 10 days. So it's just, unfortunately, there's this, it's completely out of TJ and Cole's and Melissa Fracker, the softball coach's hands. I mean, it is what it is. It pops up at bad times, and every single baseball coach and softball coach in the upper Midwest has to deal with it. And it's a pain, and it throws off. It's really hard, I would think, though, to keep, because coaches and teams really thrive on structure, making sure that everything is, we like to do it on, this way on Monday, this way on Tuesday, this way.
It's
no
impossible.
structure. Yeah, there's no structure, and it's really hard because it messes with your approach, mentally and physically, to how you're doing things. And I mean, this is not news to TJ or Cole, but it is, what it is, and so it's hard to deal with. I mean, we talk about it every year, but it never gets easier, does it?
No, and I think the biggest thing, Matt, is just the consistency part. It's hard, like you said, to get in a routine. You'd like to have structured practices, and then you just don't know when you're going to play next. So, we've had over a week off, and we're playing well when you don't want to have over a week off when you're playing well. Yeah. You want to keep playing. So, obviously, our Martin Luther games got moved up earlier than they anticipated.
And that was a great
call.
That
was a great call on your part. We talked about that, actually, after we went up.
At least I made one decision this year. So, but that's the biggest thing. When you're playing well, you want to keep playing well. And the biggest thing is, so we've been playing, obviously, outside for over a month, and then we get stuck back in here for practice every day this week. So you make do with what it is, but like you said, it's not easy. It's a lot of people don't understand what goes into it, all the decisions that have to be made, especially in a timely protocol, too, to make sure everyone is as organized as possible.
Yeah. I think the practice piece is what people don't take into account on it either, because you're sitting here going, it's nice that we can get outside. We're going to go at noon, but if it's not, then we're going to have to be inside. We're going to go at 8 o'clock, and
there's a contingency plans coming from everywhere.
There is, but the winter sports, you practice at 2:30. You practice at 4 o'clock. You always know when it's going to be. You know where it's going to be, and for these poor guys, they're just. All right, well, today they're lucky enough to get outside, but they have to go at noon, and there's zero consistency across the board. I don't know how you manage it. I really don't.
It's tough. How many group me messages that I sent probably in the last week, about changes, and the guys just have to stay on top of it and do the best they can. But it's not easy to be in their shoes too. Making sure they take care of their academics, number one.
Right. Yeah.
And then not knowing when practice is going to be. Like yesterday, we had no idea what time we were going to practice until we knew the soccer field was going to be clear, and we went out there at 5.
Right.
But up until 1 o'clock, the guys had no idea where we were going to practice or when we were going to practice. Yeah. And it's not that I'm not organized. It's the fact that we have no idea what facilities we have, what's going to be open, what's going to be not. So it is a lot on the guys. It is challenging, but also that's what makes, I feel like, baseball players and athletes in general what makes them better in life is they have to be able to manage disruptions. They have to be able to handle adversity. They have to be able to walk into work one day and maybe you were scheduled to do something and it's completely changed. You got to be able to handle that. And I feel like, to be honest, spring sports, especially the athletes in spring sports, can handle that a little bit better, just because they deal with it for 4 years being an athlete here.
Well, I mean, and it's
I could imagine.
it and this is sort of, I'm trying to go back to, like, from a player's perspective in a way. You get a pretty good inkling of where you're at a certain level. I mean, Cole could have looked out the window 2 days ago and been like, well, okay. You know what I mean? Like, because snow's coming down and we're getting multiple inches, it's probably going to set things back a little bit. So there are little things like that. I mean, Cole, how do you handle that as a player? I mean, for me, it would be natural. I get up, I look outside, and it's like, okay. Well, we'll be getting a text from Coach pretty soon. Like stuff like that. I mean, there is that kind of certain, you kind of understand that they're going in, don't you? Like, that's sort of how it's going to end up going.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I never really rule anything out. So yesterday, it would have been easy to be like, all right, we're going to be inside at nighttime, kind of plan on that. But the minute you plan on that is the minute that you're outside on the soccer field in 30 minutes and you're nowhere near ready for practice. So, like, I would say, yeah, our schedule, like, this week of practice is nowhere near similar to, like, last week of practice. Yeah. And the thing that stays the same, though, is, like, when you create, like, the habits before and after practice, it's not that hard to adjust to it. Yeah. So, like, I always eat an hour before practice. It doesn't matter when practice is. And then after practice, I have a routine after. So I think, like, my first few years, yeah, it threw me for a loop. And I had a lot of classes that interfered. But now, as a senior, I have a lot of free time and I'm pretty flexible. So it's kind of like practice is a priority. And then I create routines around it. And it doesn't really throw me off anymore. Like, I understand how stressful it is for him, but for me, I don't got a lot going on besides baseball, so I just sit around and wait for practice to happen, and then when it happens, I'm ready to go. I do my pre-practice stuff and post-practice stuff. So, yeah, it doesn't really throw me for a loop anymore.
Yeah.
How do you, as a senior, help the younger guys not get thrown for the loop? Because I imagine the high school season is different. It's a little bit shorter. Most of these places have their own facilities, so they know where they're going to practice, and the snow is basically gone by the time they start going. You get here, it's a little bit of a different ballgame. How do you keep them focused on this sucks and keep them away from that?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me, what really helped me, like, turn the page here was realizing, like, baseball is supposed to be fun. It's pretty easy as a young guy, like, oh, goodness, I'm playing college baseball. It's intimidating, but the minute I started having fun with it was, like, when all that stuff didn't matter. And, I mean, taking a step back has been big, and I say it all the time to younger guys, like, I mean, does it really matter if we're practicing at 8 p.m. in the field house when we were supposed to be outside? Like, where else would you rather be truly? You have your best friends. You're playing baseball with them. Like, would you rather be in class at 8 p.m.? Would you rather be sitting in your room doing nothing? Like, no. So, yeah, sure, practice time changed 3 times today, but does it really matter? Like, what do you want to do today? Do you want to practice with your best friends, like 39 guys that you're the closest with? Or do you want to go to class and sit there for 5 hours or sit in your room playing video games? And I hope the answer is play baseball with your friends,
That's a pretty healthy way to look at it.
It really is.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not here for the right reasons, then don't do it.
100%, right?
I mean, it's pretty straightforward in a way.
Nobody's forcing you to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think that probably speaks more to, I mean, the magic word culture, right? It speaks to the culture in your clubhouse.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great group of guys, and they're in it for the right reasons, and they're on a mission together, I think, is the biggest thing. So I always tell them all the time, I don't care how we get the job done. I just want to get the job done. And I want a group of guys that nobody cares who gets the credit. Let's just go do the job.
Right.
And I think that's what we've kind of created here and on the field, but more importantly off the field. Because in my opinion, what you do off the field and the camaraderie that you build off the field is a direct reflection on what you're going to do on the field. So it's a huge piece of our program. We spend a lot of time on it, leadership meetings, different sessions throughout the year, not even baseball-related stuff that helps us when we perform on the field. A lot of credit to the guys, because it doesn't matter what I want to implement if the guys don't buy in. It means nothing. I could go through everything we want as a program, but if our guys don't buy in, especially our seniors and our leaders don't buy in, it means absolutely nothing. Yeah. So credit to them for keeping the culture that we as a coaching staff wanted to create. from day one of me stepping in this program and continue to maintain that culture and even build it even stronger. Because I feel like it's the strongest it's ever been right now.
Let's talk a little bit about how that's translated onto the field, because season opened, tough series for you guys right off the hop, and I think the competitor in you as a coach, you kind of want that. I want my first 2 games. I don't want to push over here. I want these to be tough.
Yep.
And you guys had some tough games right out of the chute. Took some lumps early, but benefiting you now, correct?
100%, and that's the goal, and that's what I tell our guys all year. We're going to challenge you guys non-conference. We're going to challenge you with the best teams we can non-conference, and the goal is to prepare for conference season. Do the non-conference games matter? Yes. Do you want to win every game? Yes. Like you said, the competitors in us don't want to ever lose a baseball game, but the goal is to be ready and have your team playing the best ball starting conference. Because that is the season that matters the most. And that's what I feel like we can do for our guys every single year by helping them learn. I don't think it does you any good to play a weak non-conference schedule. You don't really learn about yourself. You can feel really good about getting wins, but what do you actually learn? What do you actually learn that you need to improve upon? When you face tough competition, you go against top 25 teams right off the bat. You learn. You learn, okay, we're not quite as good as them. Like, we watch them do this. Like, we need to do that better. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing of a non-conference scheduling tough teams is how much you can learn. I tell guys all the time is we go by LIE, learn, improve, enjoy. Yep. So you go through every opportunity you get. You learn from the good and from the bad. You improve upon what you need to improve upon, and then you enjoy the process of getting better. And that's the season to a T. We went through some learning rumbles here through the first 10 games, and then we've improved upon what we needed to work on, and then now we're enjoying the process and reaping the benefits from it. So it's a big piece of it. Down in Florida, we had a tough schedule, but we were competitive in every single game. There wasn't one game down there that we didn't have a chance to win. And that's what I'm most proud of. Is it's not all about the W's. It's about giving yourself the best chance to win every potential game.
Is this a John Anderson thing? Did you steal some of this from him? The legendary coach that you played for at Minnesota?
Yeah, it's, growing up, and my dad has instilled all this in me, I give him all the credit. I talk about him to our guys all the time because I'm not who I am without him. He's the biggest influence in my life, the biggest mentor, and kind of showed me the way. So I honestly can't take credit for any of it. It's just pretty much him. And that's how I look at carrying out his legacy the best that I can, is I continue to live by the pillars and standards that he lived by and teaching that to our guys. So you walk into my office and he's all over my office for good reason, because it's comfort for me knowing that he's still making an impact, that I'm carrying out his legacy the best I can. So I honestly can't take the credit for it. It's all my father, and I know my brothers are both coaches and they're both doing the same thing. So our goal, and we've talked about this as coaches, is to make sure his legacy is around as long as physically possible. That is kind of the end goal of what we want from our coaching careers. And he set a really, really good bar for us and set a great example for us, and now it's our job just to kind of carry that out.
It's an interesting question you brought up there, John, because we haven't really talked about John Anderson and Todd,
Right. The influence on...
Yeah, the influence on the former Gophers that came through that program. But they did not back away from anybody either. I mean, you guys, when you were at the U, you guys played good schedules. I mean, there were a lot of top 25 teams that you guys played in the non-conference. So taking that tough schedule thing, and I know that your dad and John were pretty close. So, it is sort of continuing on that legacy, though, isn't it? It's sort of like that idea of this is, I came up under this is what I was taught. My dad was a pitching coach. I played for the winningest coach in Big Ten history. All that kind of factors into an overall coaching philosophy, no matter what level you're at.
For sure. Yeah, and I got the luxury of playing for my dad, and wouldn't trade it for the world. I got to learn from him, and I consider him, and I'm probably biased, but one of the greatest coaches of all time, because he wasn't only just a baseball coach, but he was a life coach. Mm-hmm. He taught us about life and how to handle adversity, and when he got diagnosed with cancer, I probably learned the most I have in life. And one of the pillars of our program is courage, and that's what I learned from him through his diagnosis, is how to face life and the most difficult thing life can throw at you.
Yeah.
And how to not feel sorry for yourself, and how to never give up, how to have empathy for others. It's all about all those things, and It's not just baseball.
Yeah.
And all those things can help you be successful in baseball. So we choose a different approach, and we don't just focus on baseball 24/7. It's more about life lessons and empathy and being there and understanding about others. And I feel like that helps us in a baseball realm.
Well, one thing's for sure is that Todd Oakes was very beloved, and for a good reason, because he did it the right way for a long time, and his impact was felt by a lot of people. I mean, remember when he died, the outpouring on social media was huge.
Yeah.
Because he had such a legacy in the sport of baseball, both at the pro and at the college level, that so it says a lot. And like I said, I'm always impressed when I come in your office and I see that kind of I wouldn't say it more of it's more of a kind of a tribute to your dad in there, and that's cool to me. That's because he did make a huge impact. There's no question about it. I mean, I remember, like I said, the social media posts about him, supporting him, and the program is supporting him, and John Anderson coming out and saying, it's not the same without Todd anymore. Just things like that. Makes a huge difference. Anyway, on to a happier topic. I mean, I don't know how much of this Cole was aware of, if any of it, but on the field so far, I mean, you and I talked about your schedule, that it was going to be really tough, and that was on purpose. I mean, but the wins, split with Carleton, swept Beloit, and that's a regional team from. I mean, those are good wins. You got a nice win against Roger Williams in there too.
Do you get to choose those games, or are they kind of assigned to you because you're going to be in Florida at the same time as these other schools? So do you get a choice in that, or
we can request some teams, but we don't get a full say.
Okay.
But you can put in there that I want to play all teams with above 500 winning percentage. So you kind of have a say.
Okay.
But you don't have a full say. So,
got it.
Because all those teams on there that you guys played were good.
Yep.
I don't think there was one hole in that entire lineup. I don't think of teams that you guys played. I mean, every single one of those
all
teams.
solid.
Yeah, I mean, you and I talked about this during the winter when the schedule came out. And you said, well, we're going to be challenged.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a test, especially a week-long trip in Florida, where you're going to have to use all your pitching staff, and you play 8 games in a span of 7 days in warm weather, which you're not used to. So it can be draining towards the end of the trip, and it seems like the last 3-4 years we've lost steam as the end of the trip, but it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to practice inside for 2 straight months and then to go down there and play in 80 degrees. The
against
sun drains you.
Competition, good teams.
So it's hard though. What I was most proud of is kind of we held our own throughout the whole week, and like I said, every game was competitive. And
Give yourselves a chance in every game.
For sure.
Yeah, have a chance to
win.
win.
That's all you can ask.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean that bodes well, and it also kind of speaks to the hallmarks of your program, which is pitching and defense at the start, and then timely hitting when the opportunity comes up. Pitching staff looks like it's solid again this year.
Yep, we went through some growing pains at the start, but have made some adjustments from there, and now they're kind of carrying us right now. So, like I said, the staple of our program has to be pitching and defense. Our defense has been rock solid, so now we got to continue that because we were rock solid up to this point last year too, and then we made some stumbles. So now we got to finish the season strong. But yeah, we're feeling at a 970 clip, which is top 25, top 30 in the nation right now. So I'm very, very proud of that, of the work that the guys put in every single day, the fundamentals. But we know that we're going to have guys that are going to pound the zone on the mound, so we got to be able to field the ball behind them.
And I was going to say, it kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it, where you're playing D behind a pitcher you know is going to hit the strike zone, you're going to be awake, you're going to be into the game. If you got a guy who's all over the place, your mind's going to wander a little bit, isn't it? Then you're going to have a little bit of a harder time fielding your position. So it kind of does go hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Cole plays mostly second base sometimes. I mean, you're kind of a utility guy moving around.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
He's turned into
the Swiss Army knife, if you will.
Yeah,
he played outfield down in Florida. So, yeah.
I mean, but playing behind guys like Zach Romans, Ben Welly, Josh Pritchard, guys who do pound the zone. I mean, and really pound it. It does keep you on your toes, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I love about those guys is they trust us. So you can see when pitchers, like their fielders make an error, they get on them, they get mad. Like that's never happened once. And I remember a moment in Florida. It was a big night game, and Josh started, and he got me a ball, routine ground ball, and I chucked it right into the dugout. And instead of getting mad, I looked at him and was like, "Hey man, you just got to give me another one. Like give me another ball, I'll make the play." And he looked at me, he's like, "I will." Very next play, I got it, I made the play, and it's like it's such a good feeling when your pitchers trust you no matter what.
Yeah.
And so our pitchers have a pretty good relationship with us and know that, like, hey, we want ground balls. Like, we will make the plays if you get us ground balls, so just throw strikes. Because the minute you start, like, trying to strike people out, that's when you get wild stuff like that. Like, let us make the plays. Every time someone gets on first, we all have the confidence we're going to roll a double play. And so it's a good dynamic when your pitchers trust you, and then also we have all the confidence in our pitchers. Like, we truly think we have one of the best pitching staffs in D3, and they just attack people, and they are not scared. So it's a good feeling.
And all of that happens, and your game is done in a snappy 1 hour and
Yeah.
40 minutes.
Well, that's the
and that
biggest-
happens with regularity here.
Yeah,
I know
mean,
you appreciate that, guys.
Absolutely,
After every
we
game
do.
you talk to me about, not even the game, but just the quickness of the game.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker than some of the other. Well, and that also speaks to mental approach, right? We're not going to try to delay what we think might be the inevitable if we're not doing well.
Yep.
Let's go out there and play the game. Let's go out there. You've got, Ben Welly works quickly on the mound. Zach Owens really works quickly on the mound, especially when there's nobody on base. I mean, he gets the ball, he wants to throw it.
Yep.
You
That's
know?
by design.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
by design. I don't like guys waiting around. And the more you wait, baseball's such a mental game.
Yeah.
The more you wait, the more you have to think. The more you have to think, what comes to your thoughts? Negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
get the ball and go.
Yeah.
Like, then you have less time to think, and then you can trust your preparation, trust your teammates, trust everything, and just go.
Well, I feel like one of the things I noticed about the Martin Luther series, because that was the first series I did this year, in terms of, I did an individual game against Northland, but I also did the doubleheader with Martin Luther, was the pace of play that you guys play at puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. And a lot of times they're not ready for it. There were some things that happened in that series where Martin Luther might have fallen asleep for a half second, and the guys take an extra base. Or,
Yep.
that happened several times.
Yep.
Where they lackadaisically, toss the ball over and it got past the pitcher, and now the guys are running from another 90 feet up.
Yep.
That happened a couple times. So that pace of play, people tend to think of baseball as a slowly played game, but pace of play does make a difference, doesn't it?
100%. It's part of our program.
Yeah.
Sprint on and off the field, sprint every ball out, taking extra bases, stealing third, like all the little details, dirt ball reads, that kind of stuff. And you're 100% right. The goal is to intimidate the opponent. Like,
Yep.
I kind of said this year, like, our goal every game we play is to create chaos.
Yep.
So that's how we want to play.
Yep.
Offensively, we want to create chaos. That means a base hit bunt. That means we're going to hit and run. That means we're going to do different things that you don't normally see on a baseball field.
Right.
And we're going to do those things consistently. We're not just going to do those flash in the pan of one game they're like this and one game like, no, we're going to do all those things consistently because we do have trust in our guys and we work on those things. So creating chaos is a huge part of the program from an offensive standpoint.
Oh, and you guys, it seems like a balanced team this year. You've got speed on the bases. There's a fair amount of power in the lineup, too, which
sure.
we haven't always had here.
Right.
But there are multiple guys who are long ball threats.
For sure.
So the ability to create chaos, it comes in different ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I love the balance of our lineup. We talk about as a coach staff all the time, like you could interchange our lineup in a snap of a finger. Like the guys hitting at the end could easily be hitting 1 through 3, and that's what I love about our lineup.
Yeah.
Just the balance that we have, the balance of speed, the balance of power, the balance of I feel like half of our guys in the lineup can base hit bunt at any time, which is a huge threat. Because if that third baseman's playing in, like now it opens up the hole significantly. So those are just the little detail things. But and honestly, what I've been most proud of this year is guys are really stepping up. And more specifically, guys that haven't gotten many opportunities their first couple years, including this guy right here. So not many games,
Right.
freshman, sophomore, senior year, or junior year, and now he comes into senior year and ready to go. Never gave up, and just kept working. Guys like Maxton Howell really didn't play much his first 3 years, and now as a senior, he's breaking through.
He's leading your team in home runs.
And RBIs.
RBIs,
Yeah.
and he's honestly, between him and Cole, maybe some of our most consistent players throughout the year. Guys that didn't really play their first 3 years.
Yeah.
So a message to like all of our guys all the time is never give up. Keep working. Even when you don't get what you want, like keep going.
Yeah.
You will get rewarded for doing things the right way. You will get rewarded for working hard. And Cole and Maxton are great examples of that. And that's honestly, someone asked me the other day, like, what are you most proud of at this point amongst your team and your program? And that's what I brought up. I go Cole and Max, for those guys not giving up. Because it's easy to not play your first 3 years and cash in your senior year. I'm just going to enjoy this. Like, I'm going to let the other guys play and, like, whatever. Like, I'm just going to go out. But no, like, they kept working. They wanted a role. And they've earned the roles. Yeah. They just weren't giving it to them.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, okay, Cole's a senior, Max is a senior, I'm just going to put them in. Like, no, like, they earned their roles in practice. They earned their roles from a leadership standpoint. And that is what I'm most proud of, is that guys in our program, they don't give up. Yeah. Even when you don't get what you want. And I tell our guys all the time, you're not going to get what you want more than you are going to get what you want in life.
Right.
So, and in baseball, it's a huge example. You're not going to succeed more than you are going to succeed. So how do you handle not succeeding? How do you handle not playing your first 3 years? Do you get pissed at the coach? Do you blame others?
Yeah.
Do you fold? Or do you respond
Yeah.
and do more? And that's exactly what these guys did. And that is what I'm so proud of as a coach, because that's my end goal, is to make sure these guys are prepared for life.
Well, that's the life coach thing that you were
Exactly,
just talking about. Yep.
Exactly. And he is prepared for life because of this experience and because of the fact that he can go back to, man, I didn't get what I want for 3 straight years, but I never gave up on it.
Right.
And I worked my absolute hardest, and I practiced every day like I was a starter, even when I wasn't. And that's why he's getting rewarded right now.
And I think a lot of people will, when you hear something like that, are going to go, that's lip service. You know, prepare like you are going to play, even though you might not. And that's just a lip service thing. It's not. There's so much to that, and I think you can speak to that firsthand.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, I guess I mean, it's not like it was the most enjoyable thing in the world, not really playing for the first 3 years, but like, thanks to him and my dad, you know, they ask me a lot of valuable questions. It's like, well, what do you want? You're in control of your destiny here. Do you want to work your butt off and find a way to get in that lineup, find a way to be a key contributor? And I mean, my answer was always yes. Like, I just was not going to take no for an answer. I knew for a fact there was going to be a time where I was going to just break out and have everything figured out, and it just happened to take a little longer. But I do think, like, I took the natural progression of, like, a college athlete. Like, when you come in as a freshman, sophomore, like, your goal is to learn. You learn from the older guys. You watch, and you take advantage of every opportunity you get. And then, like, you learn what it's like to be put into high-pressure situations, because, like, as a young guy, every at-bat, your heart is beating, your knees are shaking. You're like, oh, goodness, what's going to happen here?
Right.
And then you learn from that. And then last year, like, I got put in some pretty big situations, and instead of being scared, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to let it rip here. I got nothing to lose. And then I just kind of learned that's the mindset you got to have now. And that's been my mindset this year is, hey, man, I worked every day as hard as I could. I did a lot of extra. I put a lot of work in, and instead of, like, being scared of moments, I kind of, like, I welcome them. Like, hey, I earned this. I deserve this. And he asked a question. It still ticks me off to this day, but he said we had no killers on the team early in the year to try to fire us up, and that's stuck with me every single day. So now every time it's a big opportunity, it's like, all right, you got a killer. I'm going to show you. And it's not just me. We have a lot of guys that are really, like, welcoming the big moment. Like, Peyton Steiner, I could go on and on about. Like, I've learned a lot about my mindset because of him. Mm-hmm. And in the best way possible, he does not care. Like, he just goes out there and he lets it eat. And that, I picked his brain a lot last year when, like, last year in Florida, I was struggling and I was, like, caring so much about every at-bat. And then I talked to him. I talked to Trey Seibern a lot. Like, hey, man, in the big picture, it doesn't care. You got to trust yourself. You put in a lot of work. Just go out there and let it rip. And it turned the page for me second half last year because I just let go of any emotion to the game. Like, just go in there, let it rip. And that's just been my thing. I mean, I have it written on my game hat. Just let it eat, man. Go in there, let it eat, trust myself. And, yeah, I just know that I've put in a lot of work, and it's a good feeling when you can, like, look yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, man, I deserve this. I earned this, and I worked hard for this. And, yeah, that's how I got to where I am at right now. And for sure, it's not just me. Like, we have a lot of guys, even young guys, who are putting in a lot of work to get opportunities even this year. And I think that's also, like, the role of being a senior is how can I prepare the younger guys So it's not their senior year when they're ready. So maybe they're ready by the middle of their sophomore year. They're ready by their junior year, stuff like that.
It's interesting he picks on a Peyton Steiner, for example, a guy who didn't go through that as a freshman. Basically, he started from day one.
Yeah.
So
He's one of those guys that feels like he's been around for a long time.
right, because he's played basically every single game since
Right.
he's been here as a freshman.
Yeah.
So he didn't necessarily have to go through that part of it mentally, but had different mental hurdles, I guess, that you're going to face as a freshman when you are put in that situation of having to play right off the bat.
He's the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty much understood that unless you're a special type of talent, and Peyton is, but unless you're a special type of player, your first couple of years you're probably going to spend a lot of time on the bench just learning how to play the game. And it's that kind of leads me into how important, or this question is for TJ, like how important has it been to have Isaac around helping the catchers now?
How hard has it been to pencil somebody else in the 2 slot?
Yeah, exactly. Because I know you've been kind of platooning a little bit in the catcher spot, but losing Isaac was going to be a big hole, and I know there was something that there was a conversation about there earlier. But how has he helped the new guys that are taking over that spot that he manned for the last 4 years? I mean, how important has it been to have him part of the program still?
Yeah, for sure. To your point, Garz, like it's been weird to not pencil him in every single game because there's
Talk about a workhorse.
talk about a workhorse
He's
and
a great catcher.
talk about a
Yeah.
competitor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've coached a better competitor than him, and just the desire and will to win, and the desire to be as good as you possibly can be, day in and day out. It's been a challenge to fill that gap, and obviously it's very, very hard to replace someone like that. But he's done good work with our 4 catchers we have on our roster right now, and the part that I'm most proud of is they've gotten better and better and better. From where they were in the fall to where they are now, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And they're all competitive and fighting to get into the game. And that's like we have 4 catchers right now that are all fighting to get in the game, and they're all in the back of my mind of any given game. Like they could all be in there at any time. So that part for me is a huge thing. And Isaac's done a lot of good work with him. He's still learning too. Obviously, a first year as a coaching role, it's not easy, especially to coach guys that you played with. So he's continuing to learn and went through some growing pains as a coach early too, but now he's kind of growing into that role and cherishing it and enjoying it. And I think he's reaping the benefits too of seeing how much better the catchers have gotten. And that's what I wanted from the fall to now is I wanted to see great improvement, and that's what we're seeing, which is a great sign.
Are you still letting the catchers call the game as much as they did under Isaac? Because I know you let Isaac call a lot of his own pitches. Are you letting the catchers still do that?
Good question. I actually took over. So the Florida trip was the first time I took over pitch calling.
Okay.
And have taken over that from I don't know. I felt like it was just something I needed to do.
Okay.
One, probably to just create less pressure for those guys.
Yeah.
They have very inexperienced. They've all hardly caught any collegiate baseball games. So if I can give them one less thing to think about, one less thing to worry about, and put that on me, I can wear that. And you call a bad pitch and give up a home run, or whatever, like I can wear that. And I didn't want to. I think they were wearing it too much early in the season.
Sure. Okay.
Especially against the better teams we play, like questioning pitch calling, all that kind of stuff. I think, okay, let me wear that. If we give up a home run, that's on me. You guys just go play.
Okay.
So I think it's been a welcoming change. It's been a good change. I've had good feedback from the catchers about, man, it's kind of nice just to put down the fingers that you tell me to put down, and I don't have to think. I can just go play.
Yeah.
So I think that's been part of the improvement. Part 2 is less thinking from their standpoint. Let me do the thinking. You just go play.
Well, especially from a guy who comes from a pitching background, as extensive as yours is. I mean, if I was catching for you and you said I want to start calling the pitches, I'm all in, man. I mean, this is a guy who pitching is in his blood.
But I suppose from a standpoint of the pitcher too.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to shake him off.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's the approach has as far as on the mound has not changed much. So I mean, it's they haven't really, they're not throwing different pitches.
Correct.
They're still throwing the same stuff they've always had.
Yep.
So if you might have caught them, either soft toss or bullpen session or something like that. So it's not like these guys are not knowing what pitch is coming, because it's not like Zach Romans and Ben Welly all of a sudden picked up a new pitch that nobody knows about, and all of a sudden he's going to call it, and now as a catcher you're like, I don't know if I can catch it because I don't know what he's going to throw. So that's all part of the strategy behind it too. So that's interesting.
Yeah, so I was always old school, but I just felt like there was an inkling in me that I felt like I needed to do it. Didn't know how it was going to go, but it's been a good change. It's been, like I said, just from the fact that the catchers can just go play and not have to think so much. And as you guys know, it's a lot to handle. Like, okay, who's up in the order? What did they do last time? What pitches did we throw them? Like, I have all that information.
Right.
They don't have that information at their ready.
Yeah.
So I have it all, and let me do it. Like I said, let me wear the mistakes.
Right.
I can handle that part of it, and you guys just go play.
Let's change gears here for a couple minutes before we let you guys go. Talk about the response that the hockey team gave you a couple of games ago when they showed up en masse to cheer you guys on. Where did that come from? Because you got a response out of that group that nobody else does. So where did that come from?
Yeah, so
Keeping in mind it's a family show, so if we
so I did a strength and conditioning internship with Jess and PJ down in the weight room last fall, and I was mostly with Jess, and I was with the men's and women's hockey team a lot, and the men's team was on me all the time about wanting to hang out, wanting me to go to their games, wanting me to do all this, and I never really went to a hockey game because, I mean, in my mind, they're like 30 years old, and you barely see them on campus and stuff. And so after, like, doing their lifts and stuff, I was like, all right, yeah, I'll try to get some guys to go to the game. And then it honestly became one of the highlights of my senior year was getting a bunch of guys to go to their hockey games. And, like, towards the end of the season there when those games were awesome, we would get 20-some guys at the game. They'd score. We'd get up on the glass and start pounding the glass. And so I went to some of their lifts, and they were like, hey, man, we saw that. Like, they loved having us there. I didn't know they could even hear us.
Oh, yeah.
But we were on our worst behavior, yelling and all that, and they could hear all that, and they were like, all right, hey, you let us know what games you want us at, and we'll come to them. And I was like, all right, deal. And I told them, hey, we have 3 home series this year. I tell them where they are, what time, and they happen to show up. And, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good feeling, like, walking up to the plate and hearing 27 of them barking at me and saying my name. And
that was funny because
it was funny.
When after the guys beat Point, literally Gavin Rasmussen and Carson Real, the first thing they did was go over to where the baseball team was.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they obviously
They knew you were there.
Yeah, they definitely knew you were there. I mean, they probably were over on the bench going, hey, the baseball guys are pretty mixed up over there. But, yeah, that was – I was kind of surprised, too, because I was standing in that part of the bleachers, and I'm like, well, the baseball guys are on one right now. And it was fun. It was fun because, like I said, that's the first thing that Riddle and Rasmussen and the guys did, is go over and acknowledge the baseball guys, so – that's cool. That's kind of it, like inter-team relationships that you want. Is you want that kind of thing to happen.
You're always trying to build that.
Yeah.
It's something that comes up every single year. The athletes will all say, well, we need more support from other teams. And that's why.
Yeah.
That's why, because it creates that atmosphere. There was an atmosphere at the hockey games that we hadn't had all year, and it was brought by the baseball guys showing up.
Yeah.
And so the hockey guys were pretty good about, we need to return the favor on that. So glad they've showed up a couple times. Still a few more fellas. So
this weekend we need them.
Assuming that the schedule works out.
Yes, assuming that there will be games.
A lot of assumption, but
we have to put a big asterisk on that. But yes, when we are at home, please come to the games.
Yes,
yeah.
please come to the games.
I got them all riled up for this weekend. I told them a long time ago, if there is a series that we need you guys at, it's this weekend. They just happen to come pretty locked and loaded. I mean, if they can show up like they did for Martin Luther and Northland, I feel like we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
One more, and I'll let you go. Why does my son think you're Batman?
Well, so
explain that one. That's a hockey game story as well.
Yeah.
My son comes home and tells me Batman is on the baseball team.
Well,
I want to hear this now too.
we were at one of the hockey games, and it was one of those, like, it went into OT, double OT, shooting and all that, and he came up to me in the second period, and he was wearing Spider-Man stuff.
Yep.
And I was like, hey, Teddy, are you Spider-Man? He's like, yeah. And he started doing Spider-Man stuff. I was like, all right, well, I'm Batman, man. So I'd watch out. And he just wouldn't believe me, and I kept telling him, I was like, hey, Teddy, I'm not saying I'm Batman, all right? But you ever seen me and Batman in the same room? And the gear started turning.
He's thinking about it.
He's like, no, actually, I haven't. And I was like, all right. And he took out your wife's phone. He started taking videos.
Yes.
And he put it on me. He's like, Mom, I found Batman. And I was like, I guess you did.
Yeah, because he showed up in the press box and showed me the video of Batman was at the hockey game. Look.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
I feel like that should be like
interesting.
If Teddy ever comes to a baseball game, I feel like with Cole at bats is like you got to play the team.
Well, he'll watch him on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, he'll watch on YouTube and have Allison zip through to the next Batman at bat.
Next time Batman is actually hitting.
That's when you know you've made it in life.
You're
exactly,
Batman.
yeah.
So he'll ask me, how did Batman play today?
I don't know if it's good or bad that I know that reference because of the next game I do.
Well, you have to make
I have
reference
to
to
make
it.
a reference to
That's
it now.
fine. If I'm referred to as Batman, I'm doing just fine.
We should get the sound clip instead of playing his walk-up song, just that sound clip from the movie of I'm Batman.
They'd probably fire me up a little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
So I'm glad to know that, so I appreciate that. Final thoughts, what do you got?
I think this is probably, it's a short sample size that I've seen. I mean, I've seen 3-4 games only.
Spring sports, man.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is the most balanced team that, TJ's had since, he's been here.
I think that's safe to say.
Very deep, this year. There's a lot of guys that can come in and contribute. The pitching staff is good. But it looks like, as complete a team as I think that you guys have had. And I don't know, TJ said something to me at the beginning of the year when I walked in, and Ryan Castaneda and the other assistant coaches have all said the same thing, is there was a different vibe about the team. Basically from the start this year, there was a lot more maturity, much more professional approach to it. There was a different intensity, and you can kind of see it, these guys have got some big aspirations, and I think that they're capable of achieving them. So, based on what I saw against Martin Luther, who's a much improved team, I think you guys just kind of wore them out because the amount of chaos.
They didn't have the depth.
Yeah, they didn't have the depth that you guys have, and I think that's going to be something that's going to definitely become important as they move down, toward the conference tournament and everything else. So, I like what I've seen so far.
And it's a year too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a year where this conference is wide open.
Yeah,
100%.
Bethany looks good. We look good. Crown is always pretty decent. Northwestern's there, so. And Martin Luther is much improved. Yep. They're going to pick off some people too, I think. So
Morris took 2 out of 3 from Crown, so they're right on there.
Yeah,
So.
Morris is there too. So it's going to be,
it's the best the conference has ever been. So.
Yeah. So I think 1 through 6 or 7, it's pretty tough right now. So there are going to be some entertaining games coming up. There's going to be some fun to be had, and these guys are going to be right in the thick of it. So it's going to be fun. And I know there's that asterisk again of trying to figure out where and when you're going to play these games, but that's the thing that's important too. Is these games are not throwaways.
No,
if they've been,
no.
Because sometimes it's hard to, say, oh god, we got to get on a bus, we got to go 3 hours to play basically a home game against whoever, because our field isn't ready. But you still have to lock in for those games. Mm-hmm. I mean, it isn't just, oh god, I got to get on a bus now, and these guys still got to maintain their focus. So it's gonna be very interesting down the stretch to see how this all plays out.
Should be a fun one, and hopefully by the time this airs, this weekend will be done. But hopefully we actually got the games in.
That's the goal.
And that's the other bizarre thing about the schedule too, is they get 3 series to start the conference season at home.
Yep.
Which
I don't know the last time.
Fine, I guess? Question mark. But to me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That you don't put a couple road series in there. So as the season is getting toward the end and you're getting toward that conference tournament, maybe you can get another one in at home. Right. It's just bizarre to me that, let's throw the northernmost team 3 straight to start the year. So they have 6 conference games played in March.
Yeah, and I don't know what
all at home.
I mean, that's another topic of conversation is the ins and outs of the scheduling.
The next time Corey's in town, I'll grill him with that one.
But yeah, I mean, I think I was coming out of Florida. My thought was I want to see where they're at in terms of how competitive they are, how the pitching is going, how the defense looks, and all of it has been good. I mean, based on what I've seen, TJ was anxious. He said, I don't know how many games we're going to win in Florida, but I just want to see steady improvement, and that's kind of where they're at.
Yep,
so
for sure.
Yeah,
I love this group. It's a great group, and everyone can see kind of what the guys that play do every day, but it's the guys that don't play that kind of push this group. And I think you said it best, Matt. Like, we have so much depth, and there's guys that aren't playing that could easily contribute, and that's what I love.
I mean, it's a 40-man roster.
Yeah,
and 40 guys could come in at any.
Yep, and that's what the beauty is. That anyone can pitch at any given time and give us a quality at bat, and we have tons of arms that even haven't been used that could easily be out there on the mound. So that's what I hope. Just the guys just stick with it, never give up. Just like I alluded to, like Cole and Maxon did, and your time will come.
Yep.
And especially when you're part of a good program, sometimes you don't always get what you want right away. But just to continue to stick with it, continue to stick by our pillars of our program, and continue to live by our team philosophies, and you will get better, and you will get your chance. You will get rewarded if you stick with it and have the right mindset. So I love this group. Just looking forward to what they continue to do, because it doesn't matter what I do. It's kind of like give them the keys. You guys bring us to where you want us to get to. So I'm looking forward to kind of where they bring us and what they do here moving forward.
That's going to do it for this episode of Eye of the Swarm. We want to thank head coach TJ Oakes and Batman for coming by. And for TJ and Batman and Big Sal Matt Johnson, I am Jon Garver, and this has been Eye of the Swarm.